Now I know what you're thinking. The America we know became an independent country in 1776 after it won this war against England. And we won all these freedoms and liberties that allow us to watch Netflix all weekend in our PJs eating ice cream. But that's kind of getting ahead of the story. The America we know, the one with freedoms and ice cream, really started even further back. In England. It really started with a king who was very powerful. King John of England. More power. A little more power. There we go. Yeah, that's a lot of power. He could pretty much do anything he wanted. He got in fights with the Pope, he ate giant turkey legs, he lost some land to France and made people pay higher taxes. Yeah, it was pretty good to be the king. But it wasn't super great being anybody else. In fact, it was pretty crummy. So much so that in 1215 AD, the rich men of England, the earls, the dukes, and the counts, decided to try to get back some of the power from the king. But he was stubborn, so there was a little skirmish. But eventually, King John gave in, and on June 19, 1215, King John signed the historic Magna Carta. Why is it historic, you ask? Well, it was the first formal document stating that a king had to follow the laws of the land, and it guaranteed the rights of individuals against the wishes of the king. This meant people couldn't be arrested, imprisoned, or have their possessions taken away, except by judgment of the equals and/or by the law of the land. But things just kept getting better. By 1265, a lawmaking group called Parliament was created. Their job was to approve laws and taxes proposed by kings and queens. But what they did was just as important as how they were chosen. Parliament was made up of elected officials, lords and barons at the time, who would speak for the needs of the people and were to ensure that the king couldn't have a crazy amount of absolute power. This setup protected citizens from having to pay super high taxes unfairly and prevent silly laws that only benefited certain groups from being passed. It also gave these common citizens a chance to voice their needs to the king in a more civilized way. No more need for these bloody rebellions. Yet, this is an example of a representative democracy. Quite simply, that means eligible citizens choose representatives to speak for them. But this wasn't the first time we'd seen it. Thanks, Rome! Okay, so now you're up to speed on English government. Time to start colonizing. Now I know when you think of colonial times, you think of pilgrims and Mayflowers and Turkey. Trust me, we'll get there. But first, we have to talk about charters. No, not Carters, charters! It's kind of a universal rule that kings always want one thing. More power! Maybe because some had been taken away at some point. Who's to say? The way for a king to get more power is to get two things, more land and more money. But how does a king get those things? Luckily for the king, King Henry VIII at the time, a man by the name of John Cabot, an Italian explorer who happened to live in England, decided he would follow in Christopher Columbus's footsteps and explore the West. He followed so closely in his footsteps that he too thought he had landed in Asia, but later realized he had landed in a new land, the eastern coast of present-day America, and claimed it in the name of England. Fast forward to 1606, when King James I was ruler of England. He had a bunch of English citizens who were bored in England and wanted to venture to the New World. Most wanted to explore for three reasons: money, politics, or religion. A lot of people had heard stories of gold in the New World and wanted to check it out. Others heard of some sweet trade action from all the new resources, but more on that later. In terms of politics, many people wanted to help expand the British Empire by settling land and building colonies before other countries had the chance. Side note, at this point in time in history, there were three global superpowers: England, France, and Spain. They all wanted more power, so they all tried to get more land so they could all make more money so they could all have more power. Needless to say, they didn't get along very well. Finally, others wanted to colonize for good old-fashioned religion. Some of them traveled in the name of the Church of England and wanted to spread the faith of Christianity. Others traveled because they felt persecuted in England and sought religious freedoms, like the Puritans and the Pilgrims. See, I told you we'd get to them. Whatever the reason for exploration, money, land, or God, these people weren't allowed to just pick up and go. They needed permission from the king. A charter! This was an agreement that the king would allow these people to settle in the New World as long as they made money for England and stayed loyal to the crown.